You don't overthink because your mind is weak. You overthink because your mind refuses to ignore things. The pause before someone replies, a message that feels slightly different than usual, a tone that changes without explanation, a silence that feels heavier than it should. Most people move past these things without thinking twice. Your mind doesn't. It catches them, stores them, replays them. And slowly, what starts as simple observation turns into something else. Your thoughts stop feeling like thoughts. They start feeling like warnings. That's why even normal situations start feeling heavy for you. A simple text becomes something you analyze for minutes. A conversation gets replayed in your head at night. A small change in someone's behavior turns into a full story in your mind. Meanwhile, the other person has already moved on with their day. This is where most people misunderstand overthinking. They think it's just thinking too much. But in reality, most overthinkers share one hidden trait: hyperawareness. Psychologists often describe this as hypervigilance, a state where the brain stays constantly alert for emotional shifts, rejection, or conflict. In simple terms, your brain learned to notice everything. Not just words, but patterns behind words. Not just behavior, but changes in behavior. You notice when someone becomes quieter, less warm, less responsive, slightly distant. And without realizing it, your mind starts predicting outcomes. Not because you want to be negative, but because your brain thinks it is protecting you. For many people, this doesn't start randomly. It usually builds over time. Maybe you were around unpredictable emotions. Maybe you had to read people carefully to avoid problems. Maybe you learned that small changes in tone could lead to big consequences. So your brain adapted. It became alert, careful, observant. At first, this feels like a strength. You understand people deeply. You notice things others miss. You pick up emotional details instantly. But slowly, the same ability that helps you read people starts draining your peace. Because your mind never fully switches off. Even in normal moments, part of your brain is analyzing everything in the background. What did they mean by that? Was that response different? Did I say something wrong? What if I shouldn't have said that? And sometimes, the dangerous part is, your brain has been right before. People really do change tone. Situations really do shift. Your observations sometimes match reality. And that teaches your mind something powerful. Keep watching, keep analyzing, it helps you stay safe. So overthinking doesn't feel like a problem in the beginning. It feels like preparation. But over time, preparation turns into a habit. You start imagining conversations before they happen, replaying ones that already ended, preparing for outcomes that don't even exist yet. And slowly, your mind starts living in possibilities instead of reality. The hardest part is, most of this never actually happens, but your body still feels it. The stress, the tension, the emotional weight, even when nothing is real. That's why overthinkers often look calm on the outside, but feel mentally exhausted on the inside. Because the real noise isn't around them, it's inside their head. And it never really stops. Over time, this changes how you behave with people. You start holding back more, thinking before every sentence, filtering your emotions before expressing them. Not because you don't want to be real, but because your mind already imagined how things could go wrong. So you become careful. Careful with words, careful with feelings, careful with connection. And sometimes, without realizing it, you distance yourself from people you actually care about. Not because you stopped caring, but because caring started feeling mentally expensive. And that's the hidden cost of hyperawareness. Your brain becomes so focused on preventing pain that it also starts blocking peace. Silence feels suspicious, distance feels personal, a delay feels like rejection, even when nothing is wrong. Your nervous system gets used to scanning for emotional danger, so calm moments start feeling unfamiliar. And maybe the darkest part of all this is, most overthinkers don't suffer from what is happening. They suffer from what might happen. Their mind creates emotional experiences in advance. Rejection before rejection, failure before failure, loss before loss. Not because they are weak, but because their brain believes preparation equals safety. But eventually, that preparation becomes its own kind of suffering. And maybe that's the real tragedy of overthinking. The same mind that helps you understand people deeply can also quietly disconnect you from your own peace. So if your mind feels constantly active, if you analyze everything, if silence feels louder than words, maybe you're not broken. Maybe your mind just learned to stay alert for too long. But at some point, you have to stop treating every thought as a truth. Because when your mind tries to protect you from everything, it also starts protecting you from living.